What's up and welcome back to the PDGA channel. Thank you for joining this week for this week's episode. Today, we're talking about fairway drivers. We've been going through the series on how far I can throw, but really the series isn't about that. It's about looking at each different type of disc, putter, mid-range, fairway, and driver, talking about the best uses for them, how to throw them, and how to be able to improve your game with each type of disc. So I'm super excited about this disc because fairway drivers are super important. I think this is probably the most important slot for a beginner or someone with a lower arm speed, but also fairway drivers are super important for advanced level arms as well. And so we're gonna jump out into the field, we're gonna figure out exactly where these discs are most useful and how far we can get them out there in the field. All right, let's jump to the intro and then we'll check out the field. We're out here on the field and it is time to introduce the discs. I'm gonna go in order of kind of how far I typically throw these discs. So first up, I have one of the new Rookie Explorers. Yeah, this run of Explorers is great because it's super domey, so I get a really straight flight with a reliable finish, which is what the Explorer is supposed to be based off the flight numbers. But my other Explorer, which is one of the OG Rookie Explorers, does not fly like that. This one flips up a bit for me. So this is my understable, slower fairway driver. Love this disc for in the woods, for controlled shots, but I still need some turn and a little bit of distance. And yet again, another rookie disc. This is one of his new Orbit Felons. It's an overstable fairway. It's actually starting to get just a touch of churn for me now that it's more beat in. And so it's nice because I can throw it pretty far but still have a reliable finish being at that 9 speed, so a little faster than the Explorers. I have a Paul Macbeth Proto Onyx, and this disc is great for those really long shots that have a bit of finish. This disc is beat in, no churn at all. No matter how hard I throw this, if I rip it all out, it's not going to churn. The only time it's gonna go right is if I put it on Anheuser backhand. Finally, we have a Star Valkyrie. Honestly, I think this is a fairway that every single person should have in their bag. I love this disc. It is incredible for those great flip-up lines, get some churn and come back. This is like the perfect S-pattern fairway driver. Love this disc. So that is the disc I'm gonna be throwing today, and that's the order I'm going to be doing it. There's a bit of tailwind out here, so that's going to affect the flights of the disc a little bit, and it'll probably give me a little extra distance just because it's pushing the disc, right? If the wind's behind the disc, it's gonna be pushing it forward, and the discs are gonna fly a little bit more stable. So that'll make it a little bit different, but hopefully you guys can still get a good idea of what I'm throwing, why I'm throwing it. So let's start off with that new Rookie Explorer. Seems like the wind has died down a little bit, which is great. You're gonna get more accurate flights out of these discs. That one obviously just straight and then finishes, which I love to have at that 7-speed slot. One thing that I think fairway drivers are really useful for is in the wind, just like right now. That smaller rim size, the lower profile, is super important when throwing in wind because it cuts through better. Mid-ranges have a really bulky profile, so in the wind, they're not gonna do as well. The wind's gonna affect them more. But also, a distance driver, I wouldn't prefer in the wind because it has more glide, it goes a little further, so when something goes wrong in the wind, it's gonna go really wrong. So I love fairways in the wind because it still cuts through, but also it's way more controlled and you can get it where you need to go. All right, let's go with the OG Rookie Explorer. A little more flip to it in this tailwind, maybe not so much, but I'm able to throw it a little bit flatter. So let's see how this guy goes. Spent so long in your room. The wind is a little bit right to left, and so when that disc started to churn a little bit, getting on that anhyzer angle, because the wind is right to left, it saw the top of the disc and pushed it down. So that was really short. I'm gonna have to rethrow that one because the wind really picked up mid-flight, and once it started turning, shoved the disc down. So that's something to think about, right? The angle of your disc is going to change a lot in the wind. If it's a straight tailwind, you're not gonna have to worry as much. It's just gonna stable it up. But when it's like this, where it's a right to left tailwind, you gotta be focused on getting your disc really flat so then it cuts through. Even when it goes to a hyzer angle, it's gonna push it right because it's revealing the underside of the disc. Gotta throw the rookie foul on, see how it goes. Gonna try and keep it a little more flat till the end of the flight when obviously it's going to stable up. Yep, that was great, and the wind died down, so it was able to cut through great. Another great tool for throwing fairway drivers is when you have a low ceiling, right? This is a great opportunity to throw something that's gonna go a little further, so then you can really focus on the line. So let's say you throw 300 feet with your fairway driver, maybe the hole's 250, so immediately you're thinking, I'm gonna throw mid. But if it's that lower ceiling, that 250 is much harder to reach, right? Because you don't have the height to get the full potential of the disc. So you can disc up to a fairway driver where you still have a lot of control, but you're able to throw a low line and get to the basket. All right, let's throw this Proto Onyx, see how it goes. Didn't get a super clean release on it, and the wind is kind of swirly out there now, so it's kind of pushing it around. But you could see the flight, it's straight, and it finishes. Very useful tool to have. Fairway drivers are honestly an incredible slot in any person's bag, but I think it should be super important, maybe the most prioritized in a beginner's bag for both forehands and backhands. Let me tell you why. It's because you can get distance with a fairway driver, more distance than a mid-range, but it's way more controllable than a distance driver. And if you have a lower arm speed, you're going to be able to more easily get the potential out of a fairway driver than a distance driver. So a fairway is a great middle ground where you can still get distance. It's controllable, so you're gonna be able to shape your shots better, and you're gonna be more consistent just because it's easier to reach the arm speed necessary for this disc over a distance driver. So if you're a beginner or someone with a lower arm speed, fairway drivers are the way to go to get controlled distance. And if you're an advanced player, it's a great tool for when you don't need to throw your hardest, when a disc isn't your max distance in a hole, you can go to a fairway driver and get that control and still throw far. All right. Star Valkyrie, let's see if I can get this one way out there.
Not again. Ooh, it's up and down in all dimensions. You're too afraid to...
All right, that shot was pretty good. It turned a little more than I expected, even with the tailwind, and so it went a little bit right, but it panned out at the end. So I think it got some decent distance. Let's go out, let's check the distances, and then I'll probably rethrow a couple because the wind was playing it with it a little funky to show a more realistic flight. All right, let's check it out. Okay, checked out the distances. A couple of them really got out there. Again, when I throw the disc right in this wind, it is a helping wind because it's a tailwind. So some of these distances are maybe a little inflated, but really I didn't throw any of them perfect with the wind, and so they're not way over what's realistic on a calm day. A couple of highlights is I got the Ricky Explorer out 385, which is great. If you remember last week's video in the mids, I threw the Caxa 370 something, and this is only one speed higher, so that's great to get it out 385, especially since it's a little more stable than the Caxa. I got the Star Valkyrie 452, which is pretty far. Really happy with that, especially since I didn't really get the line just right. So I'm gonna throw them all one more time to see if I can get a couple of good distances with these, try and read the wind a little bit better, see how it goes. That one was all right. put on a little bit of Anheuser, kind of flexed that at the end, but it was a little bit low, and so, tailwind doesn't give you that same carry that a headwind does. It really brings the disc down because it's making it more stable, and the way the wind is pushing against the spin. And so you have to give yourself that carry when you're throwing with a tailwind. And so I'm gonna try and get this one a little bit higher than that last shot. That was good. Got a nice little flex out of it, gave it enough height, so then I was able to get pretty far down there. Next up is the Rookie Felon. Don't think that one went very far. It's a pretty good rip, but I released on a bit of hyzer, so just kind of held that line and stabled up. But still a great shot for, in general, golf shot in a round. Proto Onyx. I could feel the wind die down right before I threw that, so I made the adjustment, put on some Anheuser, flex around, had a nice pan to it, so that went pretty far. Lastly, Star Valkyrie. Let's see if we can get this a little bit further than last time. The wind picked back up, and I did the same thing as I did last set with my Explorer, where as soon as it got onto an Anheuser angle, that slight right to left wind started pushing it down. So definitely didn't go as far as last time, didn't hit the 452, but I think it probably got around that 400-foot mark. Let's go check the distances and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, got that second set all measured up. Both the Explorers were right next to each other, with the shorter being 412 and the longer being 415. Super happy to get that distance with a 7-speed. That's great to jump over 400 with that. I also got the Proto Onyx up to 420, which I'm really happy with as well, being a disc with no churn. So really just having to manufacture that flex, the force flex, by putting it on Anheuser and really reading the angle just right so that it comes out and gets some good distance. I didn't get the Rookie Felon out there super far either set. My best was 380. I've gotten it further in rounds, but that's okay. I know I can trust that disc, and it's a great disc to have. So I'm really happy with these fairway distances and figuring out how far I'm throwing it and kind of reading the wind a little bit better. Alrighty, we are done with throwing these fairway drivers, talking about the best uses for them, talking about how to use them in wind and how it's going to affect them and different things like that. And hopefully these tips were useful and helpful for you, so then you can improve your game and you can start using these fairway drivers better. Thank you for sticking around to this point in the video. I know sometimes these videos are a little bit longer, but I really appreciate you going through and watching this whole thing and hopefully getting lots and lots of helpful content for your game. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, and remember, every day is a good day if you're playing disc golf. All right, we'll see you next week.